For the second year in a row, the NFL is flying down to Brazil during the first Friday of the NFL season as the Kansas City Chiefs are taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. My name's Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down the Chiefs Chargers Week 1 matchup. But before we get into that, be sure to leave a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win this game and why. And hit that subscribe button to get notified when new videos come out. And Ryan, this is going to be a fun one. I'm curious if this is maybe the beginning of a changing of the guard because this AFC West division going to be very interesting this year. The Chiefs have been king of the castle for well, it really actually feels like a long time. I feel like going back even to Alex Smith days because they had a pretty smooth
It's
transition.
almost like
to
10
Patrick
years
Mahomes.
now.
I think it's been like 10 years now. And you go look, the Chargers teams feel like they've been right there. And I think they kind of found the sea legs in the second half of that year with Jim Harbaugh. The Raiders, I think, are going to be very interesting as well. And Denver also, too, can Bo Nix. How's that sophomore year going to be? So this is going to be a very interesting game. And it's going to be international as well, too. And those are very unique games also. Both teams have lost some in the offseason and maybe gained a little bit as well. You know, the Chargers, big loss in training camp, losing Rashawn Slater, their left tackles. That's moving Joe Alt to left tackle. But they did pick up Mekhi Becton in free agency as well, too. So, like, beefing up that interior of the offensive line as well. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, Rashee Rice will not be playing in this game as he has a 6-game suspension. And also, too, they did end up trading away the what's the guy's name? The former Patriots guy, the guard, traded him to the Bears.
Joe Thuney.
Joe Thuney. You know, so how's this offensive line going to be? They seem to be kind of revamping the offensive line as well here. I mean, you have a stud center in Creed Humphrey, but you got Kingsley Suamataia who's going to kick in the guard. Josh Simmons putting him in there at left guard, at left tackle. Going to be interesting to see how these teams end up playing. But then you have a bunch of greatness still at the quarterback position for both teams. Ryan, what are your overall thoughts kind of coming into this game? What does each team need to do to come out victorious?
So I'm very curious about this Chiefs teams in 2025. I was skeptical of them throughout the entire 2024 season. And I actually felt like they lost a decent bit in free agency. You look, they traded away Joe Thuney, as you mentioned, on the defensive side of the ball. They lost some of their depth across that defensive line. I know they were able to make moves to kind of maybe fill in some of those players there. And obviously you have the draft class and whatnot. But it's just a lot of moving parts for a team that is in the middle of their Super Bowl window. And some of those moves were cap related. It's very interesting to me to see, but I think you go look at the Chargers and what they've done this offseason. I know obviously the loss of Rashawn Slater is a big blow to this offensive line. But offensively, Ladd McConkey had a great season last year. They went out and got Omarion Hampton. So I expect that power run game that Jim Harbaugh loves to run be much more productive. And so I'm really curious to see what the Chargers are able to do offensively. Defensively, I have even more questions. You look at, they lost Joey Bosa and some of their cornerback depth. I think like Asante Samuel Jr. left in free agency. Like there are some relatively, I know Asante Samuel Jr. didn't play that big of a role last year, but there were some relatively key names I think that they lost. So more so X's and O's, how are they going to combat that? And can they just play like good team defense is going to be more so the question there. But yeah, I think both of these teams coming in, they're going to want to set the tone in their division. And I think this is going to be a really good one. I think we just did the Thursday night preview for the Eagles Cowboys game. I don't think that game is going to be that good. This one I could see being much closer, especially these two teams always tend to have a knockdown, drag out style game.
Yeah, no, especially with the Chiefs, the Chargers, even when the Chargers were struggling a little bit, it definitely felt like over the past couple of years, it felt like that these games were still tight. That's what it's these typical type of AFC games, and so and it is still interesting. The like with Asante Samuel Jr., he's still a free agent as of right now too, so it's still possible they can bring him back. But we'll kind of wait and see. As of this recording, he has not been signed by anybody as of right now, so it's going to be interesting to see. But I agree with you though too, especially what you talked about just with this overall offense. I was really looking forward to seeing Omarion Hampton or seeing what this offensive line could be with Rashawn Slater being healthy, especially too now with you have Omarion Hampton in the backfield as well. They have Najee Harris, but I think this is probably going to be one of those things that first 5 games of the season, Najee Harris might get 60% of the snaps. But I could see like come the end of the year, Omarion Hampton be like the main guy that they're going to in and out just because, well, I mean, shoot, he's like Najee Harris, but just bigger and he can
Yeah.
catch out of the
Yeah.
backfield. So it's going to be interesting. Just I think also too how Jim Harbaugh keeps on refining this defense. We did see this defense overall, outside of like a couple of their star players, like Khalil Mack's not young, but in general though, Chargers defense is pretty young, and
Yeah.
at the same time too, the Chiefs, they lost some guys, as you mentioned, like Justin Reed, but at the same time, they replaced him though with a young guy in Jaden Hicks, who played a lot of time as well too,
Mhm.
and so you got guys like Brian Cook back there. So with this Steve Spagnuolo defense, it's still just that like next guy up mentality. And they still keep on producing, and it helps too when you get Chris Jones plugging up the middle. So that's going
Yeah.
to be the biggest thing is if the Chargers can, if this offensive line can contain Chris Jones, if Mekhi Becton can keep up that same performance overall, I think it's going to be very interesting how this Kansas City Chiefs overall matches up against this Los Angeles Chargers team. And it being week one, I think there's just maybe going to be a little bit more firepower, I think, coming from the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, Ladd McConkey, I think, is only going to keep on developing. They did end up getting, they're still kind of weak in the tight end spot with the Chargers, but curious to see Keenan Allen come back. Quentin Johnson seems to be, he keeps taking those tiny strides forward year in and year out, but he, patience is wearing thin overall. Curious to see how like Trey Harris does overall and that connection too. And then with Amari Hampton, I think they just maybe have a, it's weird to say there's a little bit more weapons, but I wouldn't say that if Rashee Rice was playing. But we'll have to kind of wait and see. Coming into this game, though, I do think that maybe a little bit overall more well-rounded team is going to be the Chargers. I think that's who's going to end up winning this game right here down in Brazil. There's going to be moments, I'm sure, where Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. But I think in general, though, I think this is going to lean itself more towards the Los Angeles Chargers.
Interesting. Okay. So in games like this, where it's kind of a toss up, I tend to go with the better quarterback. And so with that said, I'm probably going to go with the Chiefs and Mahomes on this one.
I like it.
Just uh I don't know. They always seem to pull the win out, and usually in these games comes down to one or two plays, and I have more faith in Mahomes to make those plays than I do Justin
That's fair.
Herbert. So
That's totally
that for
fine.
me, I think is going to be the difference here. I do expect this to be a hard fought game, though. Started
This
off
will be a good game.
with a banger here. So
Yeah. Well, in last year's game too, Packers and Eagles came down to the wire.
yeah,
So it's going to
yeah.
be a fun time.
No, I agree. So let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Will it be the Kansas City Chiefs? Will it be the Los Angeles Chargers? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.